And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The Hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Well, welcome everyone. Sorry I'm a little late. I am doing the program on my own today. Joe Tillman apparently has the day off. It was kind of a little bit of a shock. Actually, not really. He called me in advance to let me know that he would not be part of the broadcast today. But I got to tell you, this kind of gives me an opportunity to talk about some stuff that I have not been talking about lately. And I mean, maybe I do touch on it a little bit. And let me start the broadcast, especially for those who don't know or who are new, don't know who I am, why we are here. And sorry if I seem a little out of breath. I just ran into the studio, had my Stay Tuned thing on, had to do some shit, just came back in. And we are... Did I turn the phones on? I think I did. Let's try it. 888-659-3727 is a toll-free number. Give me a call if you have any questions or concerns about your hair loss, if you're considering surgery, if you are considering buying any product or service to treat your hair loss. But in brief, if you're new to the broadcast, I am the founder of the American Hair Loss Association, the author of The Bald Truth, The Truth About Women's Hair Loss. Been doing this broadcast in some manner or another for, Jesus Christ, 27 years. We started on the radio, and this is kind of what I want to touch on. Back in New York City, WABC Radio, 1998. Very shortly after my first book was published by Simon & Schuster, the imprint was Pocket Books. At the time, the book was groundbreaking. And it's not that it was groundbreaking as far as, oh, you know, here's the cure for hair loss, or here are the more effective treatments for hair loss. Yes, the publisher wanted it to be the first complete guide to the prevention and treatment of hair loss. But to me, what was really groundbreaking is, for the first time, because I was a hair loss sufferer, and I still am, as you can tell by the comb over, the industry was being exposed for what it really was. No one had ever put this out in print. I remember when I was first dealing with my agent and the publishing house, they were slightly concerned about naming names, and you know, they really had their attorneys go over everything with a fine-tooth comb. But the reality is, back in 1998 or 97, 96, 97, when I was writing the book, the industry was a complete mess. It was the Wild West in a way that I don't think you guys could really fully comprehend. I'm talking about hair transplant surgeries being performed out the back of hair salons. I'm talking about hair transplant surgeries being performed out of apartments. Not a joke. This is back in the 90s. Then we were able to kind of put things into place to some degree with the publication of the book, with this broadcast. And I kind of thought we were going in the right direction. Let me check out the chat room, by the way. I really did. I really thought that we were in the right direction. And for many years we were. There was a point in time around 2000, I'd say maybe 2004, 2005, when it looked like we were reaching a pretty logical endpoint for consistently good surgeries. There was a relatively small group of surgeons in the field who, because of financial pressure and the pressure we put on them, they elected to introduce stereo microscopic dissection into their practices. They, spent more money on the infrastructure of their practices. They were getting their facilities certified by the state as actual surgery facilities, things that just weren't being done before. And when I was doing the program, the majority of callers who were calling in who found our broadcast or who read The Bald Truth, and at the time it was pretty popular, they were getting really good results. They were all getting themselves on finasteride happily. They weren't talking about post-finasteride syndrome and all these, side effects that are being really discussed heavily online. And in general, younger men in their early 20s, for instance, were able to slow and stop the progression of their hair loss using medication without fear of permanent impotence. And those who were candidates for hair transplant surgery and who could afford hair transplant surgery, they were getting really incredible results that I am sure if someone called in right now to tell me that they were an old-time listener to the show who had hair transplants back in the early 2000s, that hair transplant probably lasted for a very long time, especially if they were on medication. That's not the case anymore. Everything has changed. The entire field has changed. And the mantra, the narratives, everything that's being put out there online has changed. As dangerous as it was when I first got published, that danger has scaled in a way that I never believed was possible. And I think it's great that, I think it's important that people want to understand the nuts and bolts of hair transplant surgery and what the latest and greatest nonsense is coming out for hair loss or being pimped out for hair loss is. But in the current environment, I have to say that, and I'll give you an example. I posted something about PRP and the issues with PRP on my Instagram. And a couple of people asked me, one person's like, why can't you just make a video of what works and what doesn't? And then somebody asked me who works in the industry, what about, what's the best centrifuge to use and all this stuff? As though you can put all this information in the comments section, as though I can just do a top 5 list of what works and what doesn't in hair loss. And that's the issue. It's worse than ever because people no longer have attention spans to even take the time to do their due diligence, to really research, to maybe watch, several of our broadcasts, or just even scroll down through my Instagram posts. They don't have the patience to do that. They want automatic answers. If you just tell them the truth, they're like, oh, you know what? Thanks for the warning, but what do I do? Now, the warnings are incredibly important because everyone else out there is just telling people what to do, how to fix themselves, how this works, based on a narrative that they're creating in order to sell shit. I'll give out the phone number again, 888-659-3727. We have all lines lit except for one, so guys who are holding on, I'll take your calls in a second. There is a line open if someone else wants to get in. So I'm going to button this up by essentially saying that the major part of the equation that has been taken out of the narrative is the emotional aspect of hair loss, especially in the men's arena. And you see how mean guys are to each other online and how just, it's just, there doesn't seem to be any real support for men out there. When I created The Bald Truth, that's what I wanted to do, create a safe place, a support group for men and women, but mostly men, who are dealing with a subject, an issue that society doesn't allow us to talk about. And I tell you, the first few years, it was great. And then when the internet really started to take hold, the nastiness on the message forums and now what's happening on other social platforms, it's ugly. and people are taking the time, not really doing their research, but really to kind of like combat each other, to fight each other, to bash either people in the industry or people online, or as opposed to kind of coming together and saying, hey, look, let's all try to support each other. Let's support the good guys out there who are trying to provide information and education. Let's step back from the anger of dealing with hair loss or maybe being botched or whatever it is, and let's try to help at least discuss the reality of the true solutions out there. I would like this show to get back to that. I hope that we can do that. But I got to tell you, it's pretty discouraging. Phone number 888-659-3727. Let's take a phone call and we can discuss this, and of course I'll answer your questions. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? Long time no speak. This is Gorilla. I don't know if you remember me.
Gorilla? Who else calls himself Gorilla on the radio?
Exactly.
How are you?
Yeah, so, I every so often I receive these new letters by email about these breakthroughs in hair research, follicular, genetic, stem cell, whatever you want to call it, experimentation and research. But I really don't see anything substantial. I mean, they just, these newsletters, they talk about the research and the investments going into this university or this research arm of this, let's say, some company. But I don't see any real results from these research projects. So it's like, it begs the question, where are we at now? It's like, all this news about research keeps popping up all the time. I receive all these newsletters, but I don't see anything that's worth looking at right now. It's like nothing's happening right now. I mean, and I understand it. I get it that there's a testing phase to make sure that you have to go through an animal model stage and then a human model stage, and you have to test for efficacy and then safety. But this has been going on, raging for years and years and years, and it's like, when are we going to get something that's ready for the general public?
Well, first of all, I hear your frustration. I understand it, and I've dealt with it really myself on a personal level. I'm sorry, guys. I know that the caller was a little loud. It's not your fault, caller. It's my board. We just made some adjustments the last couple of weeks. Look, here's the reality. From the beginning, when I first started to do this broadcast, again, first aired in June of 1998 out of New York City. In the very first broadcast, we talked about hair multiplication. We talked about Dr. Cohen Go. We talked about other projects that were going on, Dr. Colin Yehuda, and other really what we thought was very exciting at the time. And when I got into this field, I truly believed that I had about 5 years to do a hit and run. Kill it, crush it, guide people in the right direction, make some income, and then it was going to be all over. And then I started to get more involved in the field and kind of understand how academia in this field works, how the business, the real business works, not just looking at it as a consumer advocate, but kind of being inside the business when, these universities and researchers were asking me to help them get funding, which I did at one point. I was able to get a pretty significant grant for Dr. Angela Cristiano back in the day when, she discovered the first gene called the Hairloss gene back in 1997. So I was kind of active in, personally and through the American Hair Loss Association trying to get grants and help these people move forward with this research. What I learned pretty early on is that, the reason why these universities and these research facilities, these labs, have their own PR people, it's not just to let the world know, hey, this shit is coming. It's to get news out to the public that the mainstream media will pick up because it seems exciting, that will help these universities, these researchers get more grants so they can pay their bills. Right. And pay the salaries of their people who work in the lab, keep their labs going, and pay their own salaries.
Wow.
So now there's nothing wrong with that inherently because they do need to get paid, right? I mean, in order to get this research done, there has to be some...
it's a recurrent theme, though.
Some funding.
That's the problem.
Right.
it's a marketing tool now. So it's a marketing tool in order to get funding. So it's like, they're doing it. They're doing it to raise funding, but at our expense because we're here waiting patiently, too patiently.
Well, here's the thing, and I tried to express this to people pretty early on in my career, and I was lambasted online for it. And then there was a time when I decided, when I had Bald Truth Talk running, and it's still up there, people are still reading it, it still gets well trafficked, but I've kind of pulled back on the message forum aspect of what I do because I hate the message forums. But as far as the whole future treatment thing, I realized that we were giving and we were helping to perpetuate this false hope. But I also realize now that I'm kind of out of the false hope business that, it's going on elsewhere. It's Reddit and all these other message forums. And all people talk about, you have all the bro science guys and you have all people who are talking about is what's coming down the pike. And in my view, there's a lot of people who are making really bad choices, either to move forward with aggressive hair transplant surgery at a young age, believing that they're going to have an endless supply of hair follicles to be moved in the future, so they're willing to take a chance now. Or people are kind of waiting and putting their lives on hold because they think these cures, in quotes, are going to come to fruition.
Right.
And I'm going to get shit for this right now, but I can tell you, as of now, there's nothing that's come across my desk, I would say except for maybe Stemson, that even appears to be semi-legitimate. Now, I know there was a scientist out of Irvine who's now working with a well-known hair transplant surgeon who got involved in the company. So I'm not saying that their company isn't legitimate. But what I'm saying is anything that I've been able to see that has been kind of tangible to me, meaning that I've sat down with these researchers, they've sent me information, they've sent me embargoed information and data. Unless something is found by accident, all of these treatments that are being discussed probably won't do much for anybody.
Wow.
And that's just the truth. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Now, I do believe that they are getting closer to being able to create the hair follicle, the organ that will regenerate, once it's planted. We're seeing it in, obviously, mice, which happens all the time. We're seeing it now in pigs. These are possibilities. But how fast will
you're talking about regeneration?
I'm essentially talking about almost like cloning hair, being able to take,
the follicle.
Yeah, specific cells. Some people are working on dermopapilla cells, other cells of the hair follicle, and dermal sheath cells, and being able to create hair follicles essentially in a petri dish that can then be implanted. So you could have an unlimited amount, theoretically, of hairs that could be transplanted. Now, there's going to be problems with that too, but at least even if you could double the area of the donor area, people are going to be in a much better position.
Well, let me ask you this: how far along are we in before the general public can get a hold of this particular product or medication?
It's not a product and it's not a medication. It will be a technology. Essentially, they would have to use extract a biopsy of your tissue, take those cells.
It is a product, technically speaking.
Yeah, you want to be technical.
How far are we from that? I know there's some work being done in Japan and New York, and I think from last time I read, I think some work in Spain as well. But
there's also work being done.
How close are we?
Work being done in San Diego. I can't tell you how close we are. All I can tell you is the last person that I spoke with, who is a CEO of a company that is very legitimate, one of the few companies that actually got real outside venture capital, a significant amount of money. We're looking at, before it gets to human trials, another 2 years.
2 years before human trials? Oh, my God. Wow. All right, well, it's not that far along. Not that far off.
Well, what's your situation, man? You sound really down.
Yeah, I am. So I went to get a hair transplant, but I've got limited donor in my donor area, so in the future I'm thinking, if I'm told by a doctor that my limited supply will hinder any future hair transplants, and I'm not going to feel good. So that's where I'm at right now.
Which doctor?
Kodo.
Okay, and exactly what? So what's your? How old are you again?
52.
52. Okay, and I'm sorry, I was just preoccupied with something real quick. Did you say you already had a hair transplant?
Yeah.
Okay, how many grafts did you have moved originally?
2,000.
Okay, and if he's saying that you still have a very limited donor area, were you significantly bald? Were you like a Norwood 6 already when you had it done?
So 5, Norwood 5.
Okay, and how many
there was
grafts?
4 or 5. I think that's what he told me. I forgot.
How many grafts does he think you have in the bank?
He didn't tell me that. He discussed that.
Okay, what exactly did you discuss? Maybe I could cheer you up a little bit.
He said that I would need 2,000, and it was 1,000 in one session Monday, another 1,000 on Tuesday the next day, and it's been now 2 months, and I don't see any growth, but that's normal. I'm assuming. It feels like my hair stopped growing.
Okay, so I mean, you're 2 months post surgery. So I'm assuming that you had FUE if you did it in 2 days, and I'm assuming that since you did it in 2 days, that he did the work himself.
Yes, and with PRP.
With PRP, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, 2,000 grafts on Norwood 4 or 5 is, I mean, you could establish a new hairline. It's not going to, even if every hair grows, it's not going to be incredibly dense. But I think on the positive side is that having a conservative approach like that, and the fact that this physician is doing it all himself, meaning that he's really taking the time, he's really putting his name on this on this procedure, I think that's very positive. So, go ahead.
Yeah, he told me that he originally wanted to give me 3,000, but he settled for 2,000 out of safety because I had some scarring alopecia. So he said that it's best to give me 2,000 instead of 3,000.
Well, let me ask you a question. Okay, so that's you're bringing in a totally different animal. See, what kind of scarring alopecia you had? LP? What you had?
LPP.
Okay, now is that why you had the hair transplant, or you also have androgenetic alopecia?
So both.
Okay. Well, I mean, have you had a consultation? Where are you located, by the way?
NYC.
Okay. What was the name of your doctor?
Kodo.
Okay. Have you had a consultation with anybody else in New York City?
Yes. I forgot his name. Doran?
Okay. What did Dr. Doran tell you?
Doran said that this was years ago. He said that he can't touch my head, can't take my money until I get rid of this LLPP.
Right. Well, I mean, that was responsible. Now, how are you doing with the inflammatory alopecia and the scarring alopecia right now?
So years later, even before I went to see Kodo, I did see a couple of dermatologists who have told me that it's in remission and that I'm okay to get a transplant.
Okay. Well, that's great. This is what I would do if I were you. You're 2 months out of surgery. You can wait another month or two, or you can even wait till you start to see a little growth. It could take 4 months, before you see anything. But I would get assessed by another hair transplant surgeon. Now, you don't have to go back to Dr. Doran if you feel uncomfortable with that. But
yeah, I did. As a matter of fact, I did. So a couple of weeks ago, I had some issue with dandruff, and I was freaking out. I went to this dermatologist who happened to be an ex-hair transplant doctor. And he told me everything is fine. Don't worry, you're worrying too much. He gave me some topical solution, some shampoo. It's a specialized shampoo in order to get rid of the dandruff, and it got rid of it in like 1 or 2 days.
Who was the dermatologist that was an ex-hair transplant surgeon?
I forgot his name, but I forget it. Finley, something like that.
Feinberg?
I don't know his first name.
Okay.
I don't remember his first name.
Well, that's his last name. So was his last name Feinberg?
I think it was Finley or Finley. It wasn't Feinberg.
Okay. Well, listen, you don't sound happy, and I'm sorry about that. I understand. This is an incredibly emotional situation. You're 52 years old. What's your life like besides your hair loss? Are you married? Do you have children?
No, not married. No, I got someone interested in me, but I don't want to tie the knot. She wants me to marry her, but I don't want to get married to anybody right now.
Okay, well, you're having sex. You're out there and you're enjoying
Yeah.
yourself at least. You have a relationship.
Yes, I mean, it's a relationship. I wish I had another relationship. Let's put it that way.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I'm sure guys are interested in hearing that. So, I mean, is this a relationship of convenience now, or that you're insecure about your hair?
No, it's out of convenience. It's just that I just want to explore and see what else is out there.
Well, listen, I mean, that's understandable. Does she know this?
No, but I've given her some hints.
Like what? Do you leave your phone open with Tinder on it? I mean, what kind of hints?
No, I would say things. I would say things like, I don't know, you're too old for me, even though she's younger than me. I would say things like that, you know.
Well, that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's 23, 24.
Are you trolling me, man?
No.
She's 23 or 24, and you say that she's too old for you.
Yeah, she's got 2 kids, and I'm not ready to take care of anybody's kids. I'm not ready to get married. I'm not ready to get married. I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready. Plus, you know, she comes from a different culture, you know, and it's getting, you know, it's a little hard, you know.
What's the culture?
She's Russian.
Okay, so she's a Russian chick with 2 kids at the age of 23.
Yeah.
You're 52.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just based on that, and this is not a relationship show, I think that's good. I think you're making the right decision.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, unless you're totally financially secure, you're happy to bring up children. But I have to say that, you know, based on my experience and just, you know, being around the block, it's a different mentality. Eastern European chicks, completely different mentality, man. So you're going to have a lot of pressure on you, brother.
Yeah, well, I've done very well with Russian women. I mean, very, very, very well. They, I don't know what it is about them and me, but Russian women have treated me very, very well. I mean, extremely well.
Sure.
And for that, I'm very grateful to life, to them, to their culture, what have you. It's just that right now, I'm not ready to take care of anybody's babies. I'm not ready to, even if she didn't have any kids. I'm not ready to get married. I'm ready to tie the knot.
Right.
You know, I've got to do my own thing first. You know, I'm sorry, but I have to be constructively selfish for myself, and I've got to do things first for myself before I go on to, you know, concentrating and focusing on someone else. It's just the way that's where I sit right now.
There's nothing wrong with that, brother. And, you know, the only reason I asked about your relationship status is because you sound so depressed on the phone. I was like, is this guy 52 years old, alone, counting on his hair growing so that he can get laid? That's not the case.
Yeah, but you see, you have to understand, Spence, you know, you're looking at it from an age perspective and the age perspective from this lady. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with me. You know, I want to look good. I want to feel good for me. It does. I don't care if I have the finest, youngest woman in the world. That doesn't matter.
No.
I look good for me.
I understand.
I feel good that I look good for me.
I want you to know that
You know what I mean?
I understand that completely. But the way that you sounded like, you know, potentially a 52-year-old incel calling the program, hoping that the hair is going to get you laid and get your life. That's not the case. You're able to go out, obviously attract women. So that's all positive stuff. This is just going to be a bonus for you when this hair grows in.
Yeah, but Spence, let me let you know something. So before I got this hair transplant, I was able to style my hair, but I didn't have any hair in the front. So I took the hair from the side, and I would, like, it would be a cone over, but I would do it in such a stylish way that you would never know, and it looked really, really good. But it's just that the problem with that is I'd have to shampoo like 2 or 3 times. I had to get it, style it up, hairstyle, put some hairspray in and make sure that it was just set right. Everything had to be perfect. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if I had more hair, I wouldn't have to go through all that workload. So that's where the hair transplantation came in order to, give me a little more of a density.
I get it, brother.
To make my hair more manageable. Do you understand?
I absolutely understand. And I've chosen not to do that for myself, and I will do a little bit of the comb over and the hairspray because I don't want to take the chance of potential downsides of hair transplant surgery. But you made the move. It sounds like you're at the beginning of the process. You're going to have to wait and see how the growth is. I would not worry about it too much. The only reason I ask you these questions about your life is I was just, kind of concerned just listening to your voice that there was more going on besides the hair loss. And, you're put it this way, you're probably in a better position than a lot of guys who are dealing with hair loss. You sound like you still have a lot of hair. So let's just, fingers crossed that the grafts grow in, everything works out for you, and you can call us back in a few months and say, hey, look, it's working out.
Yeah. Do you think, well, let me ask you this. So my hair I'm experiencing stagnant hair growth. That, it's been 2 months and all I've grown was like an inch of hair, which is weird because I usually grow an inch every month, So
you're talking about the entire scalp?
Like it's stuck in time. Huh?
Your entire scalp?
Yeah.
Even the sides?
Yeah. Well, the sides are growing a little bit longer than the top.
Yeah. So that's what's going to happen. You had 2,000 grafts implanted. You had 2,000 grafts removed from the back of your scalp. It's going to appear that you have less hair growth because there's definitely going to be there's a differential between the hair that was removed from the donor area and the hair that's already there and the native hair that's still growing. Just by virtue of the surgery itself, there could be some slight peripheral, I'm not going to say damage, but are we allowed to use the word retardation? I guess in science you can. Retardation of growth, which is possible. Everything will catch up. There's nothing going on. The transplant did not permanently affect your growth cycle.
Thank God, because I'm worried about that. I have to. The doctor said everything works out. If I look good, he told me if I look good, I don't need to return and get the other 1,000 grafts. But he says that if I decide later that I need it, or that I want it rather, I could come back to him and get the next 1,000 grafts. But he said that it looks good so far. That's what he said.
So it sounds like you're in a good position. I think that you're, as we all do, you're not alone. You're overthinking it right now because you've been through a process.
That's what the dermatologist said too.
Yeah, and you just need to chill. Enjoy the 23-year-old while you still have her around, and just wait for your hair to grow in. And have a feeling.
Let me ask you this before you let me go. How long do you think I'll be able to see normal hair growth?
What do you consider normal? What do you mean? I don't understand the question.
An inch of growth a month, because right now it's not growing. It's growing like a millimeter per month now, or something like that.
I don't know. I've never actually known anyone that can grow an inch of hair in 1 month. Maybe a half an inch.
Yeah. Okay.
A full inch. That would be. That may be Guinness Book worthy. So I don't know.
Well,
if
maybe
I'm
exaggerating. I guess maybe I'm exaggerating to make the point. That I was able to grow my hair fast, but now it's not growing as fast as before.
The transplant, again, in certain areas, there could be some slowing down of growth, even the native hair surrounding the grafts that were extracted and implanted, but it is not going to be a permanent thing. Everything will start to cycle normally. So I cannot give you a timeline. You are an individual biological system, and there's no hard science when it comes to this.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, Spencer, I guess.
Dude.
Thank you for the encouraging news. I mean, this is what the doctor said. He said, you got to relax because, the first thing he noticed about me was the worry in my face,
I hear it, man. That's why I asked you if you were getting laid, what your situation. I didn't know if you were like in some basement somewhere living in your parents' house, and you tell me, okay, you have a normal relationship. You may not be thrilled at this point, but you seem to be living a normal life. So, just appreciate what you have, brother. You still have a lot of hair. You just had 2,000 grafts implanted. There's a good chance they're going to grow, and you can have an overall good result. Just chill, all right?
I mean, I want to look like a rock star, That's me.
All right, brother.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Thanks,
right.
Spencer, and I'll talk to you next week. And God bless, and you're doing an amazing work, man. God bless you for that.
All right, thank you, brother. Good luck.
Thank you, man.
Take care. Bye-bye. 888-659-3727. Guys in the chat room, be nice. Everybody's got their own crosses to bear. But when this guy's telling me, he's telling me this girl's too old and she's 23 or 24 years old, I'm like, what the? I mean, I understand not wanting to take on the burden of a family and stuff like that, somebody else's 2 kids, shit like that. Totally understandable. But I guess I asked this guy these questions, anyone who was concerned and thought the call was boring, because I wanted to see what was up with him because he sounded so despondent, which is not unusual for our callers, but this particular caller sounded exceptionally depressed about his situation. Guys, I'm sorry. Everyone who's holding on and hung up, phone lines are open. It's 888-659-3727. If the phones don't line up again, I go. But I'm here to answer your questions, to talk about anything you need to talk about when it comes to hair loss. If you have surgery scheduled for next week and you're still not sure about your decision, give me a call. I provide you with the truth, everything that you need to know to make a better informed decision. Again, it's 888-659-3727. Okay, the phone's lit up. I don't know which lit up first. Let me take this call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, hi. I'm calling from Virginia. This is Adi. I called earlier.
Hey, brother.
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right.
Hey, great. Great conversations, great show.
Sure.
I called a couple of times already. I've been hearing this podcast for over a year. Sent it to all my friends, and they got really good results. And with the doctors that you guys have, recommended, or at least on the hair transplant.
I'm really glad. I'm really glad to hear that. I will tell you this. The last thing that we want to do, at least the last thing that I want to do, is promote surgery. But one thing that I do try to make clear over the last 20 years that I found that since I founded the IHRS was, look, I can't talk everybody out of surgery. People are going to have surgery. So we just wanted to create a safe place to start to do your research. And it always makes me feel great to hear that if someone does decide to have surgery and they decided to start researching with the IHRS or on Joe's website, Hair Transplant Mentor, that they came away with a good experience.
Yeah, it's really great, because a lot of people are trying to scam you with a lot of things, right? Actually, 10 years ago, I went to a dermatologist and I asked him, hey, can I get the finasteride? And I really like it and stuff like that. I could have gotten it off the market. I'm from India, and I could have asked my dad to send them over, but I didn't. I went to a doctor, and actually he walked me out of it, and he said, no, that's not good. That's not safe. It'll all, it's crappy for you. It's really bad. I lost a lot of hair. Like 3 years ago, I asked another doctor. He said the same thing. Then I took some kind of, hey, let me try it out. Okay, people are telling me. I went to the same doctor and said, yes, I'm ready to, take a risk. I'll try. And then he actually said it's going to be permanent. The doctor in Virginia, and he said it's going to be permanent. I think you're making a bad risk. Then I researched. I found you guys and all. A lot of other great people who are online telling research and stuff like that. Then took a risk. I did not have zero symptoms.
You know, what's interesting about your story is, obviously you wanted your hair so badly that you were willing to say, you know what, maybe these doctors aren't correct. Maybe they are just perpetuating the misinformation that's out there or the overhyped information that's out there. And you did your research. I will tell you this. You're talking about oral finasteride, right?
Yeah.
Okay. From 1998 to 2006, there wasn't one complaint either through my radio show, and at the time it was on the radio in 27 markets. It was a very big weekend broadcast, and we're talking about millions of listeners across the country, and then we were on XM satellite radio for a while. No one ever talked about long-term permanent adverse side effects. Anytime they had side effects, they were either transient or they got off the medication and the side effects went away, except there was one case of gynecomastia, which was permanent. I remember this guy, Steve from New York. It was so unique that I remember these side effects. And then it wasn't until I started to do some stuff online with Joe that we had a physician call in who was a kidney specialist who did complain of long-term adverse sexual side effects or post-finasteride syndrome. But it wasn't until 2005, end of 2005, 2006, that we started to see these issues online. So urologists weren't seeing them in clinic, in their office, from guys who were taking 5 milligrams of finasteride, Proscar for the prostates. And we're talking about men from mid-30s to 50s, still relatively young. And they were taking a much higher dose. And in the hair world, no one was talking about it. Not in a single meeting. It didn't exist. Now, I got wind of it a little before 2005. I had read some literature that this was a very bizarre possibility. And I think this was some of the literature that I can't say for sure that Merck did not provide the FDA with. Or it was some insight from an insider who was working with the company at the time. But other than that, it just didn't exist. Once it was put online, it did become a mass hysteria event, and physicians were afraid to prescribe it just out of fear of being sued. And then physicians started to believe. Wow. I mean, I'm going to give you a really brief story. And guys, hold on, 888-659-3727. I went to a urologist. I had a issue that luckily was taken care of pretty quickly. And this was a young guy, knew what I did, losing his hair, and he asked me what I thought about topical finasteride. I said, why don't you take oral finasteride? He said, I'm having patients who are coming in talking about post-finasteride syndrome. I don't think I have enough hair loss to warrant taking that risk. And I said, you're a urologist. I said, at what point in your life? I said, are you prescribing guys, Proscar for benign prostate hyperplasia? He's like, yeah, but they're older guys and some of them already have sexual dysfunction. So even this doctor, young guy, who was younger than me by probably about 15 years, got it in his mind, and he prescribes a drug that this was a possibility. So I'm sorry if that's long-winded, but it just proves a point that, you put this in people's minds, it becomes a mass hysteria event, and guys like you who could have benefited years prior are now seeing that, wait a second, I'm doing well on this drug. I wish I would have taken it earlier.
Yep. Yeah, totally. Even actually, I went to urologist just to check what the deal with the finasteride like 2 years ago. And urologist said the same thing. No, you shouldn't be taking that and all that. So the reason of my call is I'm actually I have the hair transplant surgery with eugenics scheduled in a few weeks.
I remember you, sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of very stressed. I know I did my research. I really like the doctors. My cousin actually went through them, and he has great results. I haven't ever seen anybody who has a excellent scalp after hair transplant. He didn't have any kind of a scar or anything. it looked as if he shaved his head, or like, it's like little hair coming out. It was perfect. I'm sure, it might not be the case for a lot of people, but it was in his case, and he's so happy, and he's actually been pestering me that I recommended this doctor to him, and he said like, you got me into it. Now why are you not getting it done?
Yeah.
I'm stressed.
Yeah.
I thought I'll call you guys and kind of.
Well, but here's the thing. I'm not going to convince you to go forward with your hair transplant surgery. If it's something that you really want to do, you've already committed to it. That's fine. But it's only a deposit. To me, if you think you're possibly going to be worse off, or it's going to stress you out, or if you can live with the hair that you have, you're better off losing that deposit than going through something that's causing you stress and that you may not need.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. But the thing is, like, I'm not happy. See, every day I use this. I have a pretty thin like a crown area, and every time I go out, meet friends or whatever, it's like I have low confidence with that. I have to use hair fibers, or the derm match or whatever. It's not like I actually thought about putting hairpiece, but
how old are
the
you?
management of it. I'm 42.
All right. So you're currently. So when you look at yourself in the mirror from the front, how do you feel?
No, I don't feel happy at all. I don't feel happy with respect to the amount of hair I have. I'm kind of not. That's the reason why I'm.
I guess my question really relates to: do you feel like it's framing your face well currently, and you're just more concerned about the mid anterior scalp or the crown, but the frontal hairline and the first third of your scalp is okay?
Frontal is good. Yeah, front is kind of getting bad. I don't know. Maybe it's. I've been on and off of finasteride because of different reasons. Not side effects at all, but it's just trying to get the same medication from the same vendor, and but I for 6 months they didn't have the same vendor. I was trying to get, and I couldn't pay like $500 for the. The actual from Merck.
You couldn't pay $500 for the drug, but you can fly to India and have a hair transplant.
Yeah. Well, I'm not happy with the. No, I can definitely pay, but I was not willing to pay that much. I can definitely pay. It's not that, but I was like on and off of it, but yeah.
So you were being cheap. You couldn't bring yourself to. You were like, you know what? I've been paying $5 a month. I'm not going to pay $500 now. But how much hair could you have saved if you did that? And would you need a hair transplant today?
Yeah. No, I lost a lot actually. I started finasteride during the COVID time.
Yeah.
Like 2019 to 2020. So I stopped like for 6 months in between after using it for a year. But yeah.
Well, listen. I'm not going to relay your fear about having a hair transplant. All I can say is you've done your research. You've picked a good clinic. I'm not sure who the doctors are going to be who are going to perform the surgery on you. There's only 2 doctors who are accepted into the IHRS, and you know who they are. They are the main physicians in the clinic. But
one thing I have a question.
Yeah.
One thing that Dr. Sethi is going to is my doctor. They said, but what they said is interesting. Is like, I think he's going to do planning and other things, but he's not going to. I don't know if he's implanting or he's he will be overseeing the process. I think something like that. I didn't know, but it's the same thing with my cousin as well.
Look, he was happy. I can tell you that he has a good staff. and him and his wife do incredible work. They care about the doctors who work for them. But all I can tell you is none of these doctors have applied to the IHRS. Dr. Sethi himself has never contacted me to say, hey, look, we'd like to have these guys involved. We want to, put them through the process because we think that they're good enough, and they should be, part of what you do. So I don't know. I have no idea what their hands are like. I have no idea what prior training they have besides training with Dr. Sethi and his staff. I can't speak to that. All I know is we don't seem to be getting complaints, so that's a good sign.
Yeah. They're actually very good in responding to queries. They immediately respond to you like within an hour.
Meaningless, but that's good. I'm glad they're doing that, but that's meaningless as far as your results. It's good that you have a friend who went there that had good results. That's really first and foremost that you could see them with your own eyes. I would say that you're given all the shit that's out there, and given the fact that the principals of this clinic are both IHRS members, you're in good hands. But it doesn't take away your nerves.
Advantage.
What was that?
Exactly. That's the main confidence level for me, at least, because I really love you guys. You guys are like great. I can't thank you both enough. But that's the main motive. They are. I heard him in a couple of podcasts. And after that, I recommended to my cousin. He got great results, and now I also want to get it done. It's all thanks to you, and it's all. I know you.
Well, don't thank us until you get your growth, man, because you could be very unhappy. That's always a possibility. Now, your odds are you're playing the odds, and the odds are very much in your favor that you're going to get a good result. But you're still playing the odds. Anytime you go under the knife, you're playing the odds. You did your research. The odds are in your favor that you picked a great clinic and you're going to have a good result. But there's always that possibility, brother. You need to keep that in mind.
Yes, sir. Yep. I think that's one risk that is the same risk as, when doctor said not to take finasteride.
Yeah.
I took finasteride. I did not have any problems. So I'm hoping it's going to be the same case. And I think I'm sure because I've seen results of this doctor.
Well, here's the thing. It's a little bit more. It's a little bit different. Less. I mean, you took finasteride and you were told that it's going to fuck you up. I'm not saying that you're going to get fucked up. I'm saying that anytime you have cosmetic surgery, there's always a chance of potential issues. But you picked a good clinic. So your odds are very high that you're going to do well. And you're also doing well on finasteride right now. So that's vital. So it's possible you're going to call us in 6 months and you'll be like, look, it was the best decision I ever made. And I hope that's the case.
Yes. I hope so too. And thanks so much. I will keep calling you guys, after my surgery to just, let you guys know my experience and stuff. So thank you so much to you and Joe. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Listen, good luck. Let us know what you decide to do. I hope for your sake that you can kind of calm your nerves and go in. If you're going to do this, go in feeling good about it and do your best not to be stressed because it doesn't help.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Yeah.
Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. Every time I drop a line is open, so feel free to call. I love the fact that patients are finding us and they're making better informed decisions. I love hearing stories of guys who were told not to get on finasteride, who took the time to do their research, who understood the entire scope and possible pitfalls of getting on this medication, understood the reality of adverse side effects, kind of ignored some of the hyperbole out there and really looked at the data and understood that it's probably pretty rare that they're going to have adverse side effects or at least long-term adverse side effects. Well, that possibility does exist. this is a prime example. And I find it really unfortunate when I see all these young guys who are they're scrambling to get topicals. They're scrambling to get, topicals from sources you don't even know where the shit's coming from. Currently to date, out of the three big names out there on the topical side of things and the subscription side of things, there's only one small startup company that came to me and was willing to provide their resource, where they source their product, where it's manufactured. They're willing to give a tour of their manufacturing facility. And there was a big company you guys have all heard of, who I was in talks with. They all want to be supported by the American Hairloss Association, and they always they cite us on their website and this and that. It's like, look, I'd love to work with you guys. I'd love you guys to support what we do, but you guys aren't being transparent with your patients. So there are hundreds of thousands of people getting these subscription prescriptions who don't know what the fuck they're putting in their body, where it's being manufactured, how it's being manufactured, where the drugs are being sourced. Is it a manufacturing facility, a compounding facility in China? Or are the drugs being sourced in China? Or in India? Now, you could get, there are some good manufacturing processes in these Indian laboratories and, these pharmaceutical facilities. And, in many cases, that's not the case. You think the FDA is taking? You think anybody's really regulating these places? Look it up. Read about it. It is. I'm not saying people are dying from taking finasteride, but I can tell you there's a lot of people out there that are taking these generics from these subscription companies. They don't know what they're putting in their body. They don't know, they may be experiencing adverse side effects. They may be experiencing, not experiencing positive results when they could have experienced positive results by either taking a more consistently compounded product that had real medication, or at least medication that was more effective for them. It's just a fucking mess out there. 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up?
Is this May?
Hello. Yeah, it's May from Kazakhstan.
What's happening, man?
I made it through.
May, welcome to the show. I'm just going to tell you up front, we're not going to have a long call. So let's talk about what's on your mind, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions and to have a normal timed conversation with you.
Well, you gave the first caller much time, man.
I did. We've had you on the show countless times, and we give you a lot of time. These are the rules. You're welcome to call. I picked up the call. I know your number. So
yeah, I got this.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. I mean, yeah. You think that I speak too much, but I claim that I am 100%, practitioner. I'm about 100% practice implementing of what I'm asking about.
Hold on, guys, don't hang up. I will take your calls. Just call back. 888-659-3727. Okay, so you are a practitioner of what you're a practitioner of what you preach. Listen, come on, dude.
If you have so many guys waiting, I'm gonna call next time.
Dude,
no problem.
They all hung up. I just said that.
Leave me alone. That in the chat room,
Listen, dude, you're welcome. You're welcome to call in. That's why I picked up the phone. I'm just kind of setting some game rules here. What's the big deal? Relax. Let's talk.
I am relaxed, but you've been humiliating me all the time, man. Someday you say this analysis paralysis in one episode. You just told Joe, hey, that guy will never have hair transplant.
Now, how is that humiliating to you? Why can't we have this is a radio show, brother. We have to kind of interact back and forth. If there's something that you say that we find either amusing or interesting or something that we can comment on, that's what we're going to do. And vice versa. We give you a platform to talk shit about us. No problem.
Yeah. I'm just joking. Okay, I think my time up. Tell me just one thing. Okay, practical thing. I'm gonna save this conversation when you both will be in the program. And now I'm gonna ask about something else. Tell me, you have your Alliance website, right? Why don't you let people to put their feedbacks about surgeons there? No, moderated. I mean, you read and you approve the feedback and you put it in the website.
We're an organization. The IHS is an organization, not a website where people are making comments or reviews. So if you go to the AMA website, if you go to the American Academy of Dermatology website, there's no one reviewing doctors on their website. That's not what it's about, brother. So if we want to put up a review site, that's different. If we wanted to put up a site like Real Self, that's different. 21 years ago, I founded an organization. In that organization, we made it clear that not everybody who's practicing hair transplant surgery would be accepted or able to pay dues, like, for instance, the ISHRS. That was very, let's just say, the industry didn't love that fact that we were separating, in general, the better doctors from all the rest. The guys that were willing to change the infrastructure of their practice, at the time provide pure follicular unit transplantation from all the rest. That wasn't very popular, let's say. And so I think there's this weird confusion because other people put out like recommended lists and they have websites and stuff like that. That's not what I did. Now, people do conflate the people that do that with my organization, but that's not what it's about. This is just a place where people can start. At the very least, these guys are vetted and they're doing a certain level and providing a certain standard of care that you're not going to find in an organization that has 1,000 members. So my philosophy is, A, surgery is a last resort, and B, if you're going to research surgery, this is a good first step. That's it. But guys like you and other people, which makes sense, I'm not blaming you, they conflate it with whether it's like a recommended list from, I don't know, like or HTN or some shit like that. That's not what it is. So there's no reviews on any organizational website.
No reviews, just feedback. Do you get feedbacks from patients on your Alliance members, right? You getting?
We get feedback on everybody. It's interesting about the organization.
That would be the question. Why don't you put these feedbacks on the website? But because sometimes you reveal couple feedbacks during the episodes. Yeah,
sure.
You said something about but I think you have a lot of feedbacks, and why don't you put this? If you know about this feedback, you've listened to the feedback, you assessed that feedback and accepted this. Decided that that's comprehensive feedback, and you telling this feedbacks during the episodes. Why don't you put? It's I'm telling you, it's about 100% practice application. Because I have a feedback, interesting feedback, for instance, about heading game, right? About some little case, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that would be helpful, man. If I told this feedback to people, but how would I do this? I only can tell this to you, right?
Yeah, you're on a live broadcast right now. You can say whatever the fuck you want. That's how it's helpful.
Not now, man. Not now. We won't have time. I say in general. I just go and.
Here's the issue, and I know that I know where you're coming from. I have no interest in turning an organization into a review site or a feedback site. There's a difference. And it absolutely will diminish the power of what this does. We provide people with a safer, smaller place to start to do their research. And once they find these people, they can go online and do all the research and read all the reviews that they want that are out there, whether it's on different networks or on Reddit or wherever. And they can start to make their decision from that point. That's how it works.
Starting point.
What is that? It's a starting point. Exactly. Mm-hmm. You know, we want to give people a fighting chance. Here, start your research here. There's only, 60 doctors, out of 2,900. It was almost 3,000 doctors who have applied in 21 years. We'd love all of these guys to be a part of it. Have the biggest organization in the world. But that's not what that's not what I decided to do. I want to give you guys a fighting chance. This is your fighting chance. Start here. And then listen to guys like you, wherever you post your stuff or whenever you call in and provide your feedback. Guys have the opportunity to listen. Everybody in general is very lazy, and they want everything to be spoon-fed to them. But your experience or the experience that you heard about whatever clinic you're going to talk about, whether it's Haddington or whatever, is your experience, or it's hearsay from somebody else. So people have to be able to take...
about your expertise. I got your point, my friend. So sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead.
But you kind of an expert, yes? You told us yourself that you don't like forums because people can post everything, They can post everything. But if you listen to a certain feedback, you can assess whether that feedback is kind of say reliable.
But can you imagine if we were to, and just I want you to think about this. When we were running, and we still are, but we're not active on it, the Bald Truth Talk. The one reason I stepped away from it and just kind of let it sit up there and let people read it is anytime we attempted to say, you know what, this doesn't seem reasonable. This person is either, perpetuating hearsay or has an agenda, or we found out that this person has 2 IPs, whatever it is, all of a sudden we're censoring people. All of a sudden we're not letting what they think is the truth out there. So for me to decide what's true and what's not based on, I know, trust me, I know what's true and what's not in most cases. But for me to make that decision, that causes a whole different, opens up a whole different can of worms that I don't think is beneficial for the patient, and is definitely not beneficial for the organization, and it's not beneficial for my mental health or the mental health of people who are trying to do their research. It's not easy, brother. Trust me. You're dealing with thousands of personalities. You're dealing with people who are angry.
You're receiving thousands of feedbacks.
Hold on for 1 second. Yeah, sure. I'm receiving thousands of impacts. Over a year? Absolutely.
Wow, that's kind of very important information going through you, and you just don't give it to us. But you would give it to us if you give some extreme feedback and you just exclude that member from your alliance. Yes,
that's exactly the way that it works. If you take a look at things, I've removed in 21 years, besides the people who have died, I've removed probably 15 physicians for what I consider to be either inappropriate behavior. They didn't treat patients well. They kind of did some major missteps. Now, if someone has a few complaints, you can't, and they're able to fix the issue, you can't do anything about that. That's the nature of this business. But yeah, I could tell you this: it's a double-edged sword. I get shit from, and listen, I'm used to this. I've been doing this for 30 years. I get shit from the consumer who doesn't fully understand how we do things, and we get a lot of shit from the industry. I had an interesting phone call today from a physician about another doctor. This doctor is not part of what we do, but it's just amazing how it's almost as though I'm responsible for the entire industry on both ends. The doctors want me to go out there and speak openly about certain things, but they are unwilling to speak openly about things because they don't want to be in the crosshairs or be open to potential lawsuits. And then the patient wants the same thing. And then when you do speak openly about things, you get shit for speaking openly about things because, oh, well, you don't know, you've never had a hair transplant or this or that. I mean, dude, it's insane. So I understand your point, sitting from where you're sitting, but this is a very nuanced position to be in. And that's why I tell you guys, surgery is a last resort. This is a starting point. If you decide to have surgery, good luck. And I'll give you all the information you need to make the most informed decision possible, and the rest is up to you. All right, May? Call in. I know you want to talk about your clinic. Call in next week with Joe, and we'll take your call.
No, that's everything's cool about my clinic, but just important feedback that would be interesting. It's about some stage of operation. I mean, pre-operation stage.
Sure.
But I'm gonna describe this maybe in a letter and send it to you, something like that.
Do whatever you need to do, brother. We're an open book, and we'd be more than happy to read your letter.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, May. Take care. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, guys, you can call back now. 888-659-3727. Let me see what's going on in the chat. All right, everyone just called back. Let's take this call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Alex from San Diego.
Alex, what's happening, brother?
Not much. I had about, I would say, my 8th consultation yesterday with a surgeon. So 8 different surgeons I've spoken to.
Okay.
And this particular guy was a little bit concerned about the sides of my head, the donor area on the sides of my head, which is, it's a lot more thin for some reason than it is on the back of my head. And so his concern was that if he were to do surgery, the hairs might not take, and it, might really not work out. But I thought that was kind of interesting because none of the other doctors I spoke to really seemed concerned about it, or they didn't really think it was an issue.
Let me ask you a few questions.
Yeah.
Were they all different IAHRS members?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Who was the last doctor that you spoke with?
Dr. Benham.
Okay. Well, I could tell you this. That dude is brutally honest and one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He's really unique. He's a unique find in this field. And as much as he does, he's out there online, he's doing a lot of interesting stuff. I'm not going to say he's conservative, but he's extremely appropriate. Let's put it that way. And if he feels that you may have some issues on the side of your scalp, it's possible. Did he mention the term retrograde alopecia?
He didn't, but I know what the term is from hearing you talk about it.
Okay. So, and I remember you saying you were going to have a lot of consultations, and I remember you calling before. Give me a brief rundown of your situation right now again.
So I'm 34, and I haven't had any surgeries, but I'm about a deep Norwood 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
Most just high recession in my hairline. Crown and everything else is pretty good, but and then I've been on generic finasteride for about 6 years and oral minoxidil for 3 months now.
Okay. And how are you doing on the oral minoxidil?
Good. Yeah, no problems. And me and Dr. Sean actually talked about upping the dosage from 2.5 to
5.
A little more, like pill and a half a day, essentially.
Okay. So no adverse side effects, no edema. You're probably eating right. I mean, you live in San Diego, right? So you probably take care of yourself.
Yeah. Get some sunshine and but no side effects.
Okay, perfect. What did the other guys tell you?
The other guys, they didn't seem to think it was going to be that much of an issue. The couple that I kind of expressed once I started to catch on, I was like, to the fact that my sides of my head are a little more thin. I brought it up and they said, "Oh, I mean, it'd be better, I suppose, if it was more dense," but they basically just didn't think it was going to be a barrier to having a successful surgery.
Okay, and now when you say the
FUE,
sides, how far on the sides? Like, is it totally like over the ear thin type of situation, or is it like the temporal peaks?
So over the ear and going into the front of I suppose you say the temporal peaks as well.
Yeah.
But it kind of essentially at the back, once it reaches the back of the ear, it starts to go into more of a dense kind of region. But all those other areas are noticeably less dense than the back.
Okay, and what were the basic assessments? And as far as a graft count, this is your 8th procedure. So forget about Dr. Benham. All the other guys, the 7 other IHRS guys, were all the recommendations similar?
They were, yeah, and I think you probably meant consultation, but I haven't had any procedures.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. Consultation, yeah. I'm getting old, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, they all sort of recommended around 2,500 grafts in the front and not really touching anywhere else.
Okay,
and the hairline and
And this was all FUE?
All FUE. That's one doctor he only does FUT, Tim Carmen, but all of the other ones were talking about FUE.
Okay. Tim Carmen's a good doctor. He's he's old school, and he's been doing this for a long time, but he's really good. And there's another conservative guy, and I think the fact that he was going to do strip, that makes more sense. The problem is, with FUE, you have to remove hair, as you know, from all over the entire back and somewhat, to some degree, the sides of the scalp in order to create a kind of a natural mosaic that's not going to be noticeable when you cut your hair short, and you're not going to really notice. You're not going to have like a palpable difference in the donor area. I on a personal note, just knowing what I know, I think Benham's concern is legitimate. I also think that you may be able to have surgery once you up your, if you respond well to minoxidil. If that retrograde or that slight thinning on the sides kind of reverses, then, when you're on the medication, that could be long lasting. And then I think maybe Sean or somebody else would be, or Sean would be willing to potentially perform surgery. Now, did he tell you that if you do well on the meds, he would consider surgery?
That he would?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a really smart approach. The fact that just even one doctor told you that, it should be meaningful to you. That should kind of give you a little pause to jumping into surgery.
Definitely, yeah. That makes sense. I mean, it gave me a lot of pause, I would say, and
it's not. It's not as though these other guys think that they're not doing anything. I don't believe to intentionally harm you in any way. But there's a greater risk that you're not going to be happy in the long term if you continue to have significant retrograde. Right now it's probably fine. And if you're able to maintain what you have, then you're probably going to do fine with a hair transplant. But if a year from now it's significantly worse, or 2 years from now, then you're not going to be that happy with the outcome of the procedure. And some of the grafts that are moved could also be lost as well. So I think strengthening your foundation with medication before you have surgery is really great advice. And I think Dr. Benham gave you again really good advice. It's very sound.
Yeah, duly noted. Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, it seemed like he really was wanting, if surgery was going to take place, for it to be as much of a home run as possible, which I really appreciate.
That's the kind of guy that he is. And again, most of these guys are like that as well. It's just, that's why it's called the practice of medicine. Everyone practices slightly different. He may have worked on a case that's very, close to what you're dealing with, and saw what happened. And, it's kind of like a contract. When you look at the contract, you're about to sign a contract and it's 10 pages long. There's a reason why every clause is in that contract, because that shit happened to somebody at some point. And these situations may not have occurred in these other guys' practices. But I think that his assessment it's a very honest and, if you were my brother, I would say, take his advice.
Awesome. Yeah, that certainly means a lot. So,
all right, brother. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thanks so much, Masha.
All right, listen, good luck, man. Take care. Give us a call if you have any more questions.
Yep, will do. Thank you.
Right. The phone number is 888-659-3727. I find it interesting that people just, again, they don't have the patience to hold on. If you want to get through, you took the time to pick up the phone and call. I'll answer your questions. It's funny, and I've really only noticed this, I'd say, the last 5 years. There was a time, even when we were just doing the show on the internet, people would hold for an hour, like when we were doing the radio show. Now I don't know if it's social media or they're bored, they get bored easily. Their attention spans are getting shorter. They don't hold on anymore. So you got to take that call right away, otherwise they're out. But understand that your call helps other people. And for all of you guys who are watching or listening to this because you found me on Instagram and you're continuing to ask me to request that I answer your questions through comments or through DMs, it's not going to happen. A, I don't have the time to do it. B, every situation is different. I can't just give you a response on your particular case. A, not seeing you. B, I'm not a doctor. And also, there's so much involved. None of this is one size fits all. So I can't take the time to respond to you and then get a thumbs up or, a like. If you have a question, we'll take all the time that you need for us to answer your questions. But it helps other people who are suffering potentially with the same situation or who are in the exact same situation as you and have similar questions. Creating that content for this broadcast helps other people. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. That's 888-659-3727. Interesting. I haven't even looked at who is really watching today on Joe's page. And by the way, I want to thank Joe for turning on his page so I could stream or whatever he has to do to connect me to the stream when I started the stream so that I was able to stream alone today. It's been a long time since I've done the broadcast alone. I miss you, Joe, but I have to say it's not bad, Maybe I'll do this once in a while. Maybe I'll actually do this through Instagram. That would be interesting to see if I could, make that happen. But I'll give out the phone number again. It's 888-659-3727. Jesus, my voice is cracking. 659-3727. And I can tell you what's really hilarious and maybe why we're not getting a million calls here. I didn't even put the goddamn phone number up. Let's take this call. Isn't that funny? No one told me that there was no phone number up. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Why we're not getting. Hey, is this talking to me?
I'm talking to you, man. You got to turn down your computer.
Yeah. Okay. I just turned it down. Yeah, I just tuned in kind of late because I got the live or the notification on YouTube, and I saw that nobody was calling, so I wanted to go ahead and call in. So I don't know. I didn't catch the earlier part of it. with Joe being missed.
I'm going to give you a secret, a trick of the trade. If you know there's nobody calling, don't say on the air that you're calling because nobody's calling. Right?
Well,
I'm just busting your balls. I
saw it
appreciate
as an opportunity. I saw it as an opportunity to, because whenever we do call, there is a wait.
No, I appreciate that, dude. I'm just busting your balls.
I've called before, so I understand. And I was like, okay, well, now's my chance. So I went ahead and did it.
Well, I'm glad. You're very kind. So what's happening, man?
Not much. I just kind of wanted to give you an update. I've called before. I want to say like in November, I believe. And I mentioned to Joe that, or both of you, that I don't really grow my hair out because I don't like the way it looks. But I took Joe's advice because he told me to grow it out because whenever it's short, it's misleading because it looks like thinner than what it actually is.
Sure.
So I've been growing it out since like late November, and I think I feel happier that I did that because it's kind of like filling in, and I'm able to see like what my hair looks like, and I haven't grown it out in years. And even my girlfriend, she kind of just nodded her head right now, like she kind of agrees that kind of letting it grow out just to kind of see what it looks like when it's a little bit longer.
All right. So, I mean, are you happy with the way it looks right now?
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of like filled in like a lot of my scalp, I guess you can say, because when it's shorter, I mean, obviously you can see more of your scalp, but when it's grown out, it kind of fills in a lot of the
Tell me about it, brother. I mean, I grow mine really long. It's slapped with hairspray and paint, and it's covered up. So
yeah. So with me doing this, it's kind of, I would say that with 100% confidence that I can say that it's killed like a lot of my immediate interest in hair transplants.
You're lucky.
It's not necessarily
you're lucky, man.
out of the picture for like my lifetime for sure. I mean, because I'm 33, but for the moment, like it's kind of like on in the back. It's not on my mind anymore.
You know what's interesting about that? There are guys who are your age who wouldn't have taken time to grow out their hair to see what it looked like, who would just see what they saw online and make a decision based on some influencer, thinking that getting a hair transplant is a really simple process. It's cheap enough now. And, they're just going to fix themselves. And by you tuning in, listening to the broadcast, listening to what Joe had to say, and kind of understanding the entire scope and possible pitfalls of this surgery, especially as a younger man, and someone who doesn't probably really need it, you saved yourself a lot of potential heartache and money, and just the waiting time of getting the transplant, waiting a year for it to grow in, the anxiety of that, the emotional roller coaster. Maybe you can wait till you're 40.
Yeah, I would say that it's definitely bought me a lot of time. And eased my anxiety and overthinking about it, and so I feel better about it. I've been taking the medication, of course, but I'm just continuing to do that alone, and I let my hair grow out, so it's like not, my scalp. You can't see as much as my scalp anymore because the hair that is growing out is enough to kind of like fill in a lot of my scalp.
That's amazing, man. So tell me about. And you may have said this before, but forgive me if I forgot. What's you said the medications. Are you currently on finasteride?
I'm actually on dutasteride.
Dutasteride.
Because I wanted something more, I guess, more potent because I wanted to make sure that I was covering all my bases. But I've been on it for years. I have been on finasteride before, but I know that I've done research and saw that dutasteride was.
Look, there's no doubt. Listen, dutasteride blocks both type 1 and type 2, 5-alpha reductase. You're going to have a much greater. It's going to have a much greater impact in lowering your DHT levels. There's no doubt about that. And if you're doing well with it, you don't have any adverse side effects, then you win. You are really doing everything you can to diminish your DHT in your body. If you're not having any adverse sexual side effects or any other side effects, then you win, and you're probably benefiting hair-wise quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, and when I first noticed my hair loss, this was back in like 2018. That's when I found your channel because I started obviously doing research, but I was scared to try the medication at first. But to whoever's listening, I highly recommend getting on medication. I'm not really one to like promote any kind of brand in particular, but just in general, just start on the. I would say just start on the medication. It's worth it. That way you slow down the hair loss, and I think it's the most effective way to keep what you have.
Look, again, when I was young, and I was younger than you, much younger than you when I started, this was not approved for hair loss. It was only approved, it was on the market for, 2 years for benign prostate hyperplasia. But what I did know about the drug was it went through full FDA trials, and it was on the market for 2 years before I even considered it. So my doctor and I were able to make a really well-informed decision about getting on this as an experiment for my hair. The key to success with these drugs, and you're on dutasteride, I know, but the key to success with these drugs is early intervention. And this keeps the hair growth cycle, and it keeps you in a longer anagen phase. It keeps your more youthful anagen phases longer, meaning that, if you stop and start these medications, you kind of screw up your growth cycles. And, and if you get on later in life, even if you do really well, you're never going to do as well as you did starting early. So you started early. You're already in your 30s, so you started losing your hair in your early 20s, right?
Yeah. So, I was losing it early on. I didn't really notice. I mean, I would cut my hair differently, but looking back, the reason I was cutting my hair is because, obviously, I guess my hair was growing out differently, but it didn't take me until 28 years old that I truly realized, like, oh wow, I've been losing my hair, but I'm looking back, hindsight 2020, I realized that it was happening early on.
Yeah.
Early 20s.
Well, and that's how you usually start. You don't really notice your hair loss until you've lost a significant percentage of hair. Things start to change. You're like, why is it I'm not styling it? It's not styling as like it used to, or it seems a little bit less together than it used to. So you cut it shorter, and you're like, oh, there it goes. Okay, that's fine. And so it's a process. Yeah. So the point is, you're a great example. Early intervention, you may, if you decide to have a hair transplant, it may not be for another 5 years or more. And who knows what the technology is going to be like in 5 to 7 years as far as hair transplant surgery. So you saved your own ass, man. I'm glad you found the broadcast. I appreciate the phone call. Your story is an important one for other young hair loss sufferers to say, hey, you know what? Whether I'm afraid of doing this or not, at least we know something works, and it's probably not going to be rosemary oil like these guys are putting out there.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part of it is like at the end of the day, the most effective treatment, I would say, for somebody who's have gained a lot of knowledge over the years, and thanks to your channel and along with my own research, but at the end of the day, the most effective treatment is the medication. All the other stuff is just snake oil. So, like you said,
I would say honestly, anything that helps initially to lower DHT. There are some natural products, and I know that I wrote about this in 1998, and I got a lot of shit from doctors. There are some natural products that can lower DHT, but they have to be standardized. You don't know where they're coming from, and for some, that amount of DHT lowering can benefit them. But for me, medication. You go, and if you can't deal with the idea of medication, then at the very least try to do something to lower your DHT. But it's not easy to find the right products out there. So
and I feel like if I wasn't on the medicine by now, for sure I would have been like skin on the top of my scalp, like just bald, like no hair.
Well, welcome to the club, brother. I'm 58 years old, and I don't. You know what? The young guys will make fun of the fact that I wear hairspray, like at least online, or that I'm combing my hair to the side, whatever. Fuck them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what people my age look like? They're all fucked up. So I think that for me, this was like an anti-aging drug.
Yeah.
All right,
I
brother.
agree.
Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for
Take care.
taking my call.
Congratulations. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hey, what's up, caller? I'll give you another second to say hi. You may have, if you're having trouble with your phone. All right. All right, guys, we have all lines open. I have time for one more phone call. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. I think it's hilarious that the entire show I didn't have the phone number up. No one told me. You know, you got Rob Hellner with all of his bullshit in the chat, whatever it is. Why not just say, the number is not on the screen, schmuck? I was wondering why everything looked so good without the lower third. It's like the video looked really clean. Jesus Christ. But you know, as I was saying at the beginning of the broadcast, and even reading the chat, it reminds me of the fact that there's like the camaraderie. When I started to do this, there was a certain sense of camaraderie. Now, you had really toxic places like alt.baldspot and a couple of beginning forums that I saw the toxicity. But in general, the bald truth, what we were doing on the radio, the comments that I was getting through the original website, it was just all, you know, like this kid calling in. People who were, you know, they were being helped or they had questions. They were supportive of each other. They weren't assholes to each other. The ugliness just, it really started to surface as the online community started to grow. And even when I read the chat, I'm like, Jesus, guys. You know, relax. Everyone, we should all be friends here. We all have the same purpose. Or at least my purpose is to do my best to help guide you guys in the safest direction possible. Talk about the emotional aspects of hair loss. Talk about a subject that society doesn't allow us to talk about. I know everyone wants to talk about the next, you know, the greatest breakthrough. That's why I think Joe made that title, because it's funny. And everyone can pontificate on what works and what doesn't and all the gray market shit that's out there and RU 58841. And you guys don't even know what you're putting on your scalps, by the way. And what I think about this and what I think about this and verteporfin and all this happy horse shit. I just want to let you know, it doesn't matter if there are physicians out there that are making YouTube videos about a drug or about stem cells or about, until these products provide consistent results based on the history of this field, all I can say is take everything with a grain of salt. If you're just interested in kind of looking at stuff, being knowledgeable about, you know, the stuff that's being discussed online in the hair loss space, that's great. You know, if it's like a hobby. But like our first caller, you could hear the depression in his voice when I'm telling him the truth about what's going on. When he's asking me about when these miracle breakthroughs and these cures, in quotes, are coming out. So many people are dependent on this shit. And so many people spend so much of their time online battling with each other, making point after point after point based on information that they found online, that they gathered, and they somehow, developed a narrative, and they have to prove that they're right about this particular narrative and that other people are wrong. I want you guys to think about your time. Our time is limited on this earth. The amount of time spent on message forums, arguing with each other over shit that's never going to come to fruition for the most part. I hope to God that verteporfin pans out to be something that's going to benefit everybody out there. There may be a day when I need to use it. I am very excited that more doctors now, and that, oral finasteride, low-dose oral finasteride is being prescribed on the regular now, and that it's something that's part of every physician's toolbox when it comes to hair loss. Because that gives people and myself even more time. Now, I always knew it was there. And not something that I wanted to speak about. I spoke about it very early on in my career. But at the time, people were being given 10 milligram dosages. There was a lot of adverse events happening, but doctors were seeing results. So I always knew that as I got older, if I needed to add something to my regimen, that I would be able to talk to a physician, see if I could titrate to a comfortable dosage of oral minoxidil, and that would probably extend the life of my hair. But there's not much else out there, guys. So that's all I can tell you. I appreciate you tuning in. We had a lot of people watching today. That's great. It's funny. I was watching somebody else's live stream who has like 790,000 subscribers. And I think the most concurrent views they had on their channel was like 200. And I was like, holy shit. Tillman's got like 22,000 subscribers, and he gets like, 70 people concurrently in a room. And I think we have that now, something like that. I mean, that's significant. So I'm glad you guys tune into the Hair Transplant channel. I'm glad you guys took the time to call the program today. We all miss Joe. I'm pretty sure he's going to be back next week. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to call in and letting me do my thing with or without Joe. And I'm actually very happy with the turnout. You guys are great. So, all right, brothers. Brothers in hair loss, Jesus. I have to tell you, this is a fraternity that I never wanted to be a part of. I never wanted to start back in the day. But honestly, I'm glad I did. So until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you guys so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.